Hello students. Today, we will discuss The Waste Land by T S Eliot. This poem was written a long time ago, in 1922, but it is still studied today because it has important ideas and messages. T S Eliot was an American poet who later became a British citizen. He wrote this poem to express his feelings about the world. At the time he wrote it, people were feeling lost and sad after World War I. T S Eliot felt that people were losing their values, and he wanted to show this by describing a wasteland, which is a place that is empty, dry, and sad. This poem is hard to understand because Eliot used many references from history, literature, and different religions. But don't worry. We'll carefully review each part so you understand what Eliot was trying to say. The title, The Waste Land. The title of the poem, The Waste Land, is significant. A wasteland means a place that is empty, dry, and dead. Imagine a desert where nothing can grow, where there is no water, and where everything feels sad and hopeless. T S Eliot uses this wasteland to represent the modern world after World War I. People felt their lives were meaningless, and many were confused about what to believe. Eliot wanted to show that people felt empty because they lost touch with things that once gave life meaning, like religion, tradition, and values. In a way, he was saying that people needed to find hope and meaning again. The structure of the poem. T S Eliot divided the waste land into 5 sections. Each section has a different focus, but together, they tell the story of a world that has lost its way. Let's go over these 5 sections one by one. Section 1, The Burial of the Dead. The first section is called The Burial of the Dead. In this part, Eliot talks about spring, when flowers bloom and trees grow new leaves. But here, spring is not happy. Instead, it brings bad memories, sadness, and even fear. Eliot uses this part to show how people feel uncomfortable or unhappy even when things should be beautiful. He describes different images, like a dry land where plants cannot grow and people who are lost in their memories. He also talks about ghosts, which makes this section feel dark and gloomy. Eliot includes different voices and stories from people who feel trapped as if they are carrying heavy burdens from the past. He uses these voices to show that people are stuck and need something to help them feel alive and free again. Section 2, A Game of Chess. In the second section, A Game of Chess, Eliot discusses relationships between men and women. The title, A Game of Chess, is important because chess is a game where you have to think carefully and make clever moves. In this section, Eliot shows 2 different scenes. The first is a rich, beautiful woman who is unhappy and lonely. She is in a fancy room, but she feels empty. The second scene is about 2 women talking about their lives, and one woman is worried about her future and her marriage. Eliot wants us to see how people feel lonely and disconnected from each other, even in relationships. He's showing us that people are not communicating well, which is why the world feels like a wasteland. Section 3, The Fire Sermon. The third section is called The Fire Sermon. Here, Eliot talks about another problem in the wasteland, desires and distractions. Fire in this section represents strong desires, especially those that can lead people away from meaning and happiness. He uses images of fire to show that people are controlled by their desires. They are not thinking about what truly matters in life. Instead, they are distracted by things that are not important. Eliot also brings up the idea of spiritual teachings in this section. He refers to Buddha and St. Augustine, 2 figures from different religions discussing controlling desires. Eliot suggests that people must control their desires and focus on things that can bring them true happiness. Section 4, Death by Water. The fourth section is short and is called Death by Water. Here, Eliot describes a man named Phlebas, a sailor who drowns in the ocean. This section shows the power of water, which can give life but also take it away. Eliot uses this image to show how people are affected by their surroundings. Phlebas' death shows that we should not ignore the deeper truths of life. Just like water can be dangerous, forgetting things that give our lives meaning can harm us, too. Section 5, What the Thunder Said. The fifth and final section is called What the Thunder Said. In this part, Eliot discusses the need for spiritual renewal or a fresh start. He uses images of dry land and broken cities to show a world that has lost its value. But then he mentions the sound of thunder, which brings hope. Eliot uses the thunder to represent new possibilities. He uses words from an ancient Indian text called the Upanishads, where the thunder makes a sound da. Each da gives people a different lesson. The first da stands for dada, which means to give. Eliot is saying that people should be generous and think about others. The second da stands for dayadvam, which means to sympathize or show compassion. He wants people to care for each other. The third da stands for damayata, which means self-control. This means people should have control over their actions. Eliot believes that people who follow these teachings can bring meaning back into their lives and create a better world. Themes in the Wasteland. Let's discuss some central themes in The Wasteland by T S Eliot. Isolation and loneliness. Eliot shows that people feel alone and disconnected even when they are around others. This isolation makes people feel empty, and it's part of why the world feels like a wasteland. Spiritual emptiness. Eliot believes that people have forgotten about spiritual values and are only focused on things that don't matter. This emptiness makes people feel lost and purposeless. Searching for meaning. Throughout the poem, Eliot shows that people seek meaning in their lives. They are trying to find something that will give them happiness and hope. This search is difficult, but Eliot believes it is possible. The need for renewal. Eliot wants people to renew their lives by finding meaning, controlling their desires, and being kind to others. He believes that people can change and bring hope back to the wasteland. Why is the wasteland important? You might wonder, why is the wasteland important? Why do people still study it? Well, this poem is important because it discusses problems that people still face today, like feeling lonely, finding meaning in life, and understanding what matters. Even though the poem was written over 100 years ago, its messages are still relevant. Eliot also showed how poetry can mix different ideas from different places. He used references from other poems, religions, and historical events. This made The Wasteland unique and powerful. It inspired many other writers to think about the problems in their own times and be creative. Conclusion. The Wasteland by T S Eliot is a poem about an empty and meaningless world. Eliot uses images of dry, lifeless land to show how people felt lost after World War I. He talks about loneliness, desires, and the need to find meaning through different sections. He believes people can bring hope and happiness back by renewing their lives with generosity, compassion, and self-control. Thank you for watching.